We're very excited to have you. Thank you for accepting to do this with us. Thank you so much. My name is Stella Okuspoji. I currently work as the Junior Programs and Membership Executive at Nigeria Women in Public Relations.
Nice to
So,
meet you.
nice to meet you too. So, our esteemed guest today is a highly skilled professional. She's doing a great job at what she does. She's a professional in effective communication and stakeholder management. In a recent role with the Ministry of SaskBuilds and Procurement, she's currently the communications consultant, supporting the delivery of crucial earth infrastructure development in the province. She has coached ministry spokesperson for media engagement, speaking opportunities, interviews, and citizen inquiries by preparing key messages, providing strategic direction, and offering situational context to spokesperson. She also ensures that they are well prepared to respond appropriately and translate technical industry language into simple language. She's doing a very great job, and in 2024, she led the development of keynote presentations and speaking notes for the Chief Procurement Officer and Deputy Minister at the annual Government of Sax Business Expo Forum. She crafted comprehensive and engaging content to brief industry stakeholders on critical topics such as prioritizing sax manufacturers and tradespeople through Priority Sask initiative, best value procurement practices, and so many initiatives that support the growth of the government plan. Our expertise has been seen in building impactful partnerships on the global scale. So we are very excited to have you. So you're welcome to today's episode of PR Woman of the Month. I'll just give you a round of applause. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Stella. Thank you.
So we have some questions for you, and we just want you to tell us from a personal point of view, so others can look at it and sort of learn to sort of inspire their journeys.
Okay.
All right. So can you just share with us how you got into public relations? Because I saw that you have a LLB. So how did you get into public relations?
Right. I trained as a lawyer in Nigeria, called to the bar. I practiced for a few years. My first, I'd been writing because I was born to like a broadcaster and a professor of English. So of course, communications has always been like in the bloodline. But personally, I'll say the first official assignment I had in communications was with Black House Media. It's a PR firm in Nigeria, quite a big one. And when I joined in 2018, I think I had spoken with the CEO then, who decided to take a chance on me. I'm very grateful for that because that has just opened doors. I was working with the MTN Nigeria account, and mostly I was working on campaigns. I worked on Momo. I worked a bit on the MTN Pulse. There was also the MTN Music. I can't quite remember what the app is called, but it was for the music streaming platform that MTN had then, and all of that. But I think where my unique skill set came in was the fact that I was a lawyer, and as MTN, a big brand working with the government of Nigeria, there were issues with taxes, the USSD and bank brouhaha. There was just quite a number of other stakeholder, government, regulatory bodies, conflict happening at that time, and they needed someone who had knowledge of the law and who could also accurately speak on what was happening in the media, because many media houses are not necessarily lawyers, and they cannot really speak to, or many of them might not understand the legal terminology. So it was important that MTN got in front of the news and accurately interpreted what was happening, and that was my job to do. And so I did that as well. So I did that for a bit with BHM. That was my first experience with BHM. And it just opened me up to, out of the world of law. There was just a whole lot of managing stakeholders, communicating what was happening, and just identifying your stakeholders. So when you're talking about the music aspect, when I was talking about the music app, working with people in showbiz was different from, working when we had like the tech products that went out, working with people in tech. To when MTN Foundation events happened and, working with the CSOs and, non-profits. And when it was the one with kids, there's an MTN initiative where kids can spell, I think. And, so it was just a variety of stakeholders and, having to work with these stakeholders. What are they looking for? At some point, I was working on annual reports and, translating this to shareholders. And sometimes we did crisis management during the xenophobic attacks in 2019. So it was just a whole lot. And I appreciate that experience because I was able to do crisis management, I was able to do stakeholder management, I was able to do a whole lot under that brand. So that was my first experience and it really set me up for good. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You actually learned a lot from BHM. I can see that. So, and you talked us through some great campaigns you've worked on. Apart from BHM, what other successful campaigns or projects have you worked on? Like, you want to tell us more of more campaigns you've worked on?
Right. So after working with MTN or working on the MTN account, I also worked, I shouldn't say after, I'll say concurrently, I got pulled into this project. It was a regional project. So it was for a company in Paris, France. That's Public Affairs Africa. And it was a big deal because we were bringing technocrats and like diplomats from all over West Africa together to talk about how to, invest. Basically, the campaign was invest in West Africa, and we're trying to bring, high net worth individuals, governments, and other organizations who were interested in cross-border alliances, economic alliances. And so I came in as the communications person on that project, and just communicated both in English and French. I don't speak French, let me be clear on that, but I had to do a lot of, because West Africa is Anglophone and Francophone. And so we had to do a lot of translations and had to be sure that we were being, very accurate in both in English and in French, and, speaking with like, these diplomats, talking with this, other countries, working with chiefs of staffs and all of that, just to put this event together. And I should say that it was a very successful events that took place in Abidjan. Yes, eventually, because we moved, I'll confirm that and get back to you. We moved around a couple of possible venues, but it eventually went very well. And that was another huge experience for me, working on that. And I stayed on the project for a long while, for about 4 more years. It's still running, it's still working. I no longer work with Public Affairs Africa since I have moved to Canada, but yes, it's been a great one.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. So I see that you worked across different industry and it's a very great one. Your set of skills are just something what emulating, and we need to learn how you do it all. Like, you are managing 2 campaigns at the same time. It takes a lot of grit. So thank you so much. But I would want to know that what was the most challenging part of working in the PR and communications industry, especially as a female?
I don't know that there was one thing that was challenging, but I do know that I'll talk as a female because there's a lot of challenging things, but I'll talk as a female. Was the fact that when we had okay, I'm trying to be careful here. You want to get your events on the news. It's not enough to do good events. It's you have to let people see that you're working on good events, good campaigns. You have to get your news. You have to get that important value you're adding in front of people. And how do you do that? Is through the media, right? Um,
Yeah.
Getting your news out there is a lot, because you have to know that there are a lot of competing stories every day in every part of the world. And so you have to prove that yours is as important or even more important, and you deserve that space. We used to, I remember we used to be very happy to get news on the front cover if you made headlines for your clients. That was big, that was huge. And in fact, we used to, our metrics were based on that. So say you travel to a different part of the country to cover an event and all, and you want people in that part of the country, to tell your stories. How do you prioritize that? That was a huge challenge. I recall I was talking to a male colleague once, and I was like, "Oh, it's not hard." And I was wondering, how can you say it's not hard? This is something that I'm struggling with. And it's like, "Oh, you know what you can do? Just after the event, just take the media guys out for drinks, get to know them. They want to know more, about you and all." And for the first time, I saw that I was a woman or a female in that space, and that the grounds for competing weren't fair. I'm not saying I couldn't have taken people out, but if I was leaving Lagos to, like, someplace in Calabar or someplace in, wherever, whatever part, I don't know this place. As a woman living in any part of the world, we constantly have to look over our shoulders. Talking to strangers can be dangerous, can be fatal even. People have died from, like, such encounters. So just taking people I have never met for drinks, first of all, it doesn't take into account whether I even drink, right? So do I have to drink to do that? Do I have to, put all my doubts and my fears and my safety in danger just to, nail this? So this was some of the challenges that as a woman you could face. There were things that other people could get away with that you probably could not get away with. So that was one challenge. I'll say another challenge was the fact that there are no holidays or no breaks. The busiest times of the year were usually the times where people would take days off, New Year, or this celebration and all. The brands you're helping, or the brands you're working on, they have New Year programs, so you're spending it with the brands and not with your family. You're spending it with, there are no time offs. Things happen on New Year day, on New Year days. Yeah, I guess that's correct. And anything can happen at any time. You're always on call. I think it was working as a PR executive, working on brands then must have been the most stressful part for me, because there's just no work-life balance. I used to get panic attacks from, like, the phone ringing at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or something, because you just know that there's a crisis somewhere. But yeah, was it rewarding? It was. Was it helpful? It was. Or was it challenging at the time? Yes, it was.
Yeah, thank you so much. I can relate, because on New Year Day you're doing media coverage. You're checking what the media is saying about your brand. So
Yeah.
I can relate to there's no break. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. So I'll be asking you, how do you collaborate with other teams or departments within organizations? For example, you're working in the government organization. How do you
Right.
collaborate with other teams to align with your PR strategies to achieve broader business goals?
Okay. So I'll say that as long as, depending on where you're working, whether in government or in companies or anything, as long as it's clear on all ends that we're working for the same goal. So it's one government, it's one company, it's one brand. Whether you're in accounts, whether you're in projects, whether I'm in comms or PR or marketing, it's one company. And as long as we understand that we are all working on the good for the company, or good of the company, of the organization, of the government, it makes it really easier. Sometimes, our work as comms people or as PR people may not necessarily be convenient for people on the project teams. They just want to do their work and be done. Or people on, working on other, they just want to do their work and be done. But we are here trying to make the work fancy, try to show people that the work that we do is in fact important, and trying to deliver the maybe not so great news in, a palatable way. And so many times it could be inconvenient working with all these other people, but like I said, it's important to be on the same page as long as we understand that we're working on the good of the company, working on the good of, working on, and at the end of the day, it's not just for the company, it's not just for the government, it's working for the people. So the end users, the consumers, the people, the citizens, we have to show that we're not just working, we're not just sitting in a cubicle or sitting in an office or in front of a computer, and we're not just, selling fake stories, we're telling real stories, and we're showing how this, comes in handy. So it's very important that that common goal, that common vision is, playing and constantly reemphasized, because sometimes you can just get so thick in the work and you forget that. But we don't get to forget that. PR people don't get to forget that. Comms people don't get to forget that. The great work we are doing, we must not only be doing great work, we have to be seen to be doing great work. I think that's where comms and PR comes in. And many people in other, departments or branches or committees may not necessarily, see that in the moment, but it's something we always work on. And I'll say that personally, I have enjoyed great cooperation and great support from the teams that I work with. So, yeah.
So thank you very much. I will hold this very dear. Let's not just do great work, but let us be seen doing great work, because that's the only way others will get to know that we're doing great work. So thank you very much. I want to know, in your experience, how does public relations differ in Nigeria compared to the country where you currently work?
Well, you don't have to pay for news. I think that's my biggest. That was my biggest culture shock. Like, really, I really can pitch my news stories, and they get picked up. I think it's easier here, or maybe not easier, but you can tell that. I mean, you do good work, and it gets picked up basically. So you don't have to bend through hoops and all, and do that. That's very different. But in the general sense, I'll say that the ethics of the profession are the same everywhere. I'll say that the crux of the work is the same everywhere. I'll say that writing styles may differ, because here you have the Canadian press style. So there are different writing rules to like work with. But all in all, it's I'll say that Nigeria was a bit more challenging because of the kind of landscape that we had, and all that, because of we don't have all the structures that we have here in place in Nigeria. I also say that I've enjoyed great work-life balance here. 5 p.m. is 5 p.m. and so that has also made it not terrible to work in. But there's a vibrancy that comes with the Nigerian space that sometimes I miss. There's I think the adrenaline rush of everything. You would understand, you're a PR person in Nigeria.
Yes.
Of yes, so there's that excitement. There's also the things are very structured here, so it may be tough to how I worked with MTN, and you were doing when you were working on when I was working on the MTN account. It was intense because I was the content person, I was the media relations person, I was the this, I was the that. I was doing everything. You were even designing, you were pitching, you were designing, you were managing budgets, you were doing all of that. It was end to end. Here it's not as end to end. Everybody has what they do. So you do it here, and then you transfer to the next department to take up, and you move on to the next department. So I'll say that has given the real good work-life balance part of things, and that's really good. I'll say that working in such an environment as Nigeria really toughened me up, and because of that, I can work in different capacities. I could work, in community engagement. I can work in communications. I can work in PR. Whereas here, they're all quite siloed and quite different. So I'll say that those are the differences that come to mind.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. We know that in Nigeria, when you are in a particular role, you have to multitask, do multiple JDs.
Yes.
But yeah, but we know that it builds you, like gives you stamina, like gives you skills to do above and beyond. So Nigeria is Nigeria. So thank you so much for your response. So I just wanted to know, how do you stay updated with the latest trends and best practices in public relations? I really want to know, because when you left Nigeria and you went to Canada, so how were you able to stay with the industry trends? Like, there were a lot of changes. I just want to know how you were able to stay with the latest industry trend and the best practices in public relations regarding that landscape.
Yeah, I'll say that it was, first of all, here, we have a body where you belong to, IACSB, and you see latest trends and all. But if we're talking about the Nigerian landscape specifically, I have many friends still in the industry that I catch up with, and we just share minds, we rub minds. Could be on LinkedIn, could be on WhatsApp. And people are just saying, this is what's happening right now, this is how it is. I remember that there were times when I'll be working on a plan or a strategy, and I will call my friends and say, hey, have you worked on this before? What's it like right now? What are the ideas? And it always worked. I know that a particular friend of mine, Davina, who now works with MTN, we were with BHM before, also really helps, rubbing minds with her. I had other friends with like Hills and Knowles, I think, which is there's a Canadian company. Yes. They're very big in Canada here as well. But I have a friend who I worked with at BHM who works in the Nigerian, arm of H&K. And it was, yeah. So I think just keeping up with like colleagues really helps. Keeping up with news really helps. Joining a professional body really helps. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. We know that connections and keeping great relationship is very important. So for the last question, so I do not take much of your time. Sorry, I'm sorry. I hope I haven't taken much of your time.
No,
my last question for you is, what advice would you give to PR practitioners who want to climb the PR ladder? So someone is saying, in the next 2 years, I want to be in management position. What advice would you give that person?
Well, as a person of faith, most of my advice comes from the Bible, and the one I particularly love the most about, climbing the ladder and rising, is the part of the Bible that says that he who needs to be the leader needs to be the servant. So I'll say volunteer. Put yourself out there. You cannot not be hardworking. Like, you have to do the work. There are no shortcuts to like greatness. You can accelerate what you're doing by taking on more tasks. I know it's already growing. I know it's already a whole lot, but you have to do the work, and you cannot be afraid of sharing what you're working on. A lot of people that do great work, but in silence or in private or something. I'm not saying that you have to lie about what you're doing. I'm saying that you have to document what you're working on, and you have to be visible in what you're working on, but you have to work. Like, you cannot avoid working. You have to do the work, but you have to work on visibility as well. Do the work, talk about the work. Do the work, talk about the work. Do the work, talk about the work. It always works. Volunteer, speak with people who are already in the positions that you want to be in. Speak with them, ask for more work. Tell them that you're ready for the next step, or you think you're ready for the next step. Ask them to give you feedback on your work. Ask them to give you opportunities to, do things you're currently not working on, but you have to do the work. I'll say that when I was with BHM and everything seemed like a whole lot and the pressure was much, it seemed like too much at that moment, but it stretched my capacity. And it's something I can always draw on at any point in my life, wherever I'm working on. I'm like, I worked in BHM. I don't know, I worked in BHM. I can do anything. So when you do the work, there's a confidence that comes with it, with the fact that I had this challenge, I surpassed it. I had this challenge, I surpassed it. When bigger things come your way, you've built the capacity to work on it. So I'll say that it's not, being a leader doesn't mean less work. It means more work. And how do you prepare for more work? By doing it. So basically, I think that's my biggest feedback. Do the work, but also be seen doing the work.
Oh, all right. Thank you so much. It's very, very like straight to the point. To do the work and be seen doing the work. You clearly said when you do great work, ensure that people see the great work. Thank you so much, Jola, for joining us. And we are so proud of your journey and the growth that we see you right now. Like what you said, before you can lead, you must serve. So thank you so much. We've seen that you served, and the word is just yours, that we know that you do greater things and achieve more. So thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Stella. Thank you for the opportunity.